Hi everyone. Today is let me look at my watch. Saturday, December 26th, and for those that celebrate the excuse me, December 25 day of whatever, I hope you had yourselves a really good day. And for those of us that don't, I still hope you had yourself a wonderful day. So this particular video, I'm probably going to title this something like Baby Killers and the miscarriage of justice in Canada. So the failure in the Canadian justice system. And I think I'm going to do this in a part series because I just can't express everything that I would like to express in just one video, because I'd like to just be able to sit down and reflect on sort of my feelings and expressions as I was reading this book. So I'll also maybe put something in the title saying, the video title saying like book review, baby killers, something like that. So, I'm not sure yet what I'm going to call this video or title this video, but I got up this morning and I was like, you know what, I just need to get stimulated in some other way. So I ordered this book from the library, and the public library. And how I learned about this book was I get this free magazine from the public library, and it just basically tells you about like the different projects for each quarter. So I believe every quarter is 3 months or 4 months, and they distribute this free magazine. It's a nice little book, and they tell you about different events and different book readings, and different types of. They mention like different acclamations for persons that have received like awards for their writings and stuff. So I I don't even know what to say and feel, really. I am just so disgusted, so disgusted. But I was drawn to this book written by Jasmine DaCosta, and I'm going to actually look for this person and just tell them thank you for presenting this piece in this book form. The book is titled, oh jeez, I can't even see. Branded a Baby Killer, the story of Tammy Marquardart. And I'm sorry, here it is. It's called Real Justice, Branded a Baby Killer, the story of Tammy Marquette. So I'm just going to show you what the book looks like. And I was interested in reading this book because I've learned that there are some serious problems with this thing called just asserting one's charters, one's rights and freedoms and responsibilities according to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And I'm speaking currently from the global north, and one of the questions that I sort of pondered over the years is, what exactly is this thing called justice, and how does this actually work in Ontario, for example, one province to begin, when, for example, in the jail systems, in the this thing called mental health apprehension systems, you see a lot of diversity there. And when you actually go to these places and you look around, you're like, okay, why is this filled up with people that look like me? And so, also being raised in the prairies of Canada, as well as in the global south, the English-speaking Caribbean, just relocating to this area in Ontario, sorry, in Canada, sorry, I'm losing my voice, um, has really opened up my eyes to some serious problems in this country. And prior to, I was very, happy-go-lucky and just kind of floating all over the place, and just trying to find sort of my destiny in this human life. And there were certain projects that I wanted to take on, and certain things that I even wanted to do back in the prairies, but because of racial discrimination, I was told that I was the wrong color to become a law professor back in the 80s. So, those kinds of things hurt. And but when you really have a passion for something, then there's different ways that you can actually maneuver the system to assert your destination and your goals and your dreams, etc. And it's really sad that, Canada is still very, very problematic when it comes to just being respectful to, it's not only a people of color thing, but people of color as well as low-income white folk who actually speak up. And in Taunton, Ontario, they have some very serious problems with, literacy, and these people that get employed in these organizations that are unionized, they all look the same and they don't look like the diversity of the world, and then the thinking is all the same. So that kind of stuff just makes me wonder, like, why does the social architecture and the economic architecture look and operate that way? So I got up this morning and I was like, I need to read that book that I ordered. And I'm not going to be out, like, contributing to the consumption lifestyle and splurging on all this stuff. I just get what I need, and I tend to be a leader. I don't follow things for the sake of people saying, hey, let's go shopping. And I just say, you know what, I've got what I need. So. But when it's time to go on a trip, they're like, oh my God, how could you, afford to do that? And I'm like, well, you know what, I just saved up. So, anyways, so this book basically chronicles the allegation of killing your child from the perspective of a female. And this particular female, she's very white-skinned, but she's also has some Canada Native in her. And what had happened, according to reading this book, is that she was said to have killed her child. And in the initial proceedings, they I just laugh because it's just so disgusting at what some of these biomedical professionals do. And I'm sorry, like, I would never go to med school to become a pharmacy narcotics distributor. And I wouldn't go to med school to be trained as a biomedical professional to take care of health of the dead body. So this book explores a different kind of medicine, and it's forensics pathology. And it was actually this woman who basically called 911 because her son was, losing consciousness, and she was panicking, and she called 911, and I was just sort of going through the transcripts, and, like, people are fucking ignorant. Like, all judgments aside, because I do support being judgmental. Like, if you see an apple and a rotten apple, well, you're going to judge which one you want to buy so that you don't get sick. That kind of thinking is okay. But this particular person, Tammy Marquardart, I don't know how to pronounce her name properly. She's a Canadian woman, and looks like she was raised in Ontario. And what had happened was her son was losing consciousness, and she called 911, and she was panicking on the phone, and you know, even the transcripts, like, what the fuck is that? Like, I understand that when you're dealing with people who are, very frantic on the phone, have some sensitivity, please. And so this woman is just screaming on the phone because her son is losing consciousness. She can't remember how to do CPR, so she's calling 911 to find out. Sorry about my voice, I don't know what's going on. She's calling 911 to say, can you help me? How do I revive my child? Help me, get the ambulance here, blah, blah, blah. And so anyways, the ambulance arrived, and I thought it was just really strange how the parent doesn't go with the child in the ambulance. And, it's really interesting to note how sneaky and very strategic the justice system operates in Canada. I'm particularly starting from Ontario, and just very serious problems with that whole system of asserting your responsibilities and getting justice when you have racial profiling, you have medical profiling, etc. So anyways, so they pick up this child in the ambulance, they whisk the child away to a hospital in Toronto, and then what they do is they fool the mother and say, oh, okay, come in the police car. And while the mother is thinking that the police are going to rush her down to the hospital to be with her son, they take her to the police station, and then they start interrogating her as to why she killed her own child. Now, I think that's fucking disrespectful. And, I understand that maybe some people, they act and, they are actually the ones who kill their children, but what is your starting position? So they whisk her away to the police station, they interrogate her, and then they let her go, and she's taken to the hospital. When she's at Sick Kids, when she's at the hospital, this one hospital in Ontario, Toronto, Diversity Toronto, this doctor, and I'm gonna sit down and write all the notes and stuff. I'm just kind of speaking on freeform right now, and just expressing my initial thoughts, because I felt this book. And so they whisk her away to her son to a hospital, and she gets, after the interrogation with the police, like, I just can't imagine, like, the trauma and the stress. So anyways, they whisk her to the hospital, and in the hospital they have a doctor who basically looks at this woman and says, well, I gotta get in touch with, all these, like, enforcement agencies that get after people who killed their children. Now, why would you start from that kind of starting position? So I don't know if they actually wrote a complaint against that biomedical professional for being very, very, very unprofessional to begin with. So, and my bias is that I'm very, very critical of the biomedical system in the global West, because again, it's based on health of the dead body and just getting into the circle and making money, and not even, like, questioning what the fuck you're doing and why exactly you would get into something called medicine. So so this one physician basically said, well, and not indirectly, but they implied it, that this mother had killed her child. So or did things to the child before the child actually died. And so what this one doctor number one, did was got, like, the child welfare authorities involved. They also, like, put out an alert to all these, like, very parasitic systems that I think they just need to be eliminated, and or reformed, maybe reformed. And So she's sitting there and she's frantic, whatever, and sorry, this is just so disgusting. She's sitting there, and while they're checking out the child, there is a referral to just transfer the child to the Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, Ontario. Now, what had happened was when the child was transported to the Sick Kids Hospital, one thing I've noticed about these biomedical professionals is that they're not transparent. They sort of jump the gun. They actually do not know how to articulate themselves, and they all seem to be of a certain thinking persuasion. And it just boggles me as to how do some of these people even get into these employment opportunities. So the child is whisked to the Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto and dies. So basically this forensic pathologist is called on to investigate this case, and he's a Caucasian person, and his name is Dr. Smith, and he did his training in Saskatchewan. And according to other things that I've seen about him and his credibility, is he liked to assert himself as, you know, one of the best in the world, and, you know, typical of like a very fucked up thinker. And I won't say white male patriarchy, because you have people of color who mimic this supremacy of whiteness thinking. So he was basically assigned to this case, and he basically made his little assessment, and it was really funny to read that he was also part of this group, this national group in Canada called the Canadian Missionary Societies or some bullshit thing like that. So so this guy from Saskatchewan, the prairies, he is transplanted to Ontario, and he basically becomes like, you know, the expert in the world of whatever the fuck he was doing. So what he did was he basically wrote a report to say that this mother killed her child. And as a result of that, she was processed through the Canadian justice system, and she was imprisoned for 12 years. Now, the thing is that how do you actually process those once-in-a-lifetime moments that you actually miss with your children? Once in a lifetime to attend a little grade 5 graduation ceremony, once in a lifetime to attend a little 3-year-old daycare graduation ceremony. Like, how do you actually recover costs, opportunity costs for that type of stuff? So she served over 10 years, I believe, in prison, in the prison system. And she talked about how this particular piece talked about how this mother, who was just trying to do her own thing, how this particular mother was interrogated in the crime administration system, or the criminal administration system in Canada. So she had some encounters in jail, and there was a jail worker that had said to her, you know what, just lie and tell these people that you killed your husband. And I find that really problematic, because if you, for example, have this kind of savagery operating in sort of this infrastructure called administration of justice, then why are you telling people to lie? You know, like, I don't know, I just have some serious problems with misconstruing things. And so this person is in jail, and she's, you know, she has like stuff done to her, and she's like trying to assert her freedom and her position that she never killed her child. So while she's in jail, this guy, this forensic pathologist named Dr. Smith, Dr. Charles Smith, he, you know, this guy was getting paid over $290,000 a year just to do whatever the fuck he was doing. For how many years he became this esteemed biomedical professional in the world of the forensic pathology market. And what had happened was there was a good lawyer that had told this woman, you know what, get in touch with this organization. And it's an organization that actually processes cases related to wrongful um, accusations. So, wow, just reading this book, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for a walk, get some fresh air. It's kind of gray where I am, and I like it when the sun is shiny. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna delay my walk and just read this book because I was really into it. And we have to do better, seriously. So this woman, anyway, her case was reviewed, and she was actually released from jail, and they gave her $250,000, I believe, for 10 years plus in jail, while this forensic pathologist professional was making $290,000 per year. And one of the things that I've noticed in the Canadian justice system, just from, I never really got into the criminal, the first of all, I don't even know what criminal is, because when you do work related to processing environmental cases, I just don't understand how some of these law enforcement persons cannot begin to conceptualize environmental crimes as being very criminal. So this person was actually released from custody, and she was granted her freedom. And I don't know what she's doing now, but she was given $250,000. What had also happened was she was she filed a case suing different systems in Ontario for $13 million. So this is part one. I'll revisit this. Thanks for watching, and just look down in the notes. I'll put more citations. Thank you. Hope you have yourselves a great day. And I know I'm stumbling over my words, but I was just really moved by this, and I do need some time to process this disgust. Okay, thank you for watching. Have yourself a wonderful day today.